but Emmitt Smith is a player. I get in arguments, I get in fights because I will go to my grave saying, you give me a game on the line, on a Super Bowl, I'm taking Emmitt Smith over Barry Sanders. I'm taking Emmitt Smith over any running back because he just did everything good and it did everything great when you put it all into it. It's unselfish. I mean, you think about the Giants game that Kelly talked about is, the pass protection, catch, everything he's done. He always went forward, never went backwards. Am I crazy? I mean, am I okay saying that Emmitt Smith's the greatest that I've ever seen in the NFL?
It's kind of hard for the other side to bring up arguments to say that that's not correct. And I let everybody know, because I have the same conversation. I tell them flat out, listen, we can get into the conversation who's the greatest running back of all time, but you got to know that I'm biased. Yeah. I just tell them right out front. And to the points that you talked about, he was ahead of the curve as a complete back. He was ahead of the curve as a guy who took care of his body away from the facility. He went into other areas to make sure he was as close to 100% as he could possibly be during the course of the season. And for me, the true definition of greatness is talent over time. And that's where Emmitt separates from everybody else. The NFL is hard. And if you're going to go chase Walter Payton, you're going to have to be really, really good for a really long time. And for him to walk in as a rookie and say, when I retire, I'm going to be the NFL's all-time leading rusher, that is beyond bold, because
I think
that's not just faith in
you. Bold.
Yeah, it's not just faith in you.
Yeah,
it's faith in everybody around you. Because as a running back, if you don't have the other 10 guys around you, if you don't have a complementary passing game to lighten boxes, you're not gonna put up those numbers. And then for him to play as well as he did for as long as he did is the reason why he's always my favorite. Now you can watch Barry Sanders videos, you can watch Jim Brown videos, whoever it is that you think is the best running back in the history of the NFL. There's going to be opportunities for you to present your point. But for me, when you're the all-time leading rusher in NFL history and it's great talent over a long period of time, I think that kind of ends the conversation. You may not think he's as great a running back from a dynamic standpoint as Barry Sanders. You may not think he was as physical and dominating in his time as Jim Brown was, but you can't deny how good he was for as long as he was.
Yeah. I just want to add one more point that gets your, because this is always my argument to them. They'll say, well, Emmitt Smith was great. He had Moose, he had the line, and I accept that. But what I always come back to is, maybe Emmitt had something to do with the line too. And Emmitt Smith held out, and they had a running back. You had Derek Lassick back there, same line, and it wasn't as productive. We lost both games. Now maybe I'm again being my Emmitt bias, but the argument of he had this greatest line and this and that, is that a fair argument on their side, or is his vision, his instincts, everything that he did made the line even better than they were?
Yeah, he made us all better. The great ones elevate all boats. The high tide player. I mean, it is a perfect little experiment, right? We're not going to pay Emmitt the money he's asking for, and he started out 0-2 behind that same line, behind everybody. That just shows you the unique ability he had. And we sat right next to each other during meetings, and I had to talk to him. I'm like, why did you not play side? Everything is blocked well there. I'm going to be able to get outside that. And he goes, you're like 2 yards ahead of me, but everything changes in the time. When you go past the 3 technique, it doesn't look the same as it did, right? When I'm coming past the 3 technique, things have changed. So he got me to actually slow down. I cheated up a little bit and I slowed down a little bit. And I let some of those blocks that were happening in front of me develop a little bit more. And then sometimes we were able to come out the back door together. And now you're talking about something that could be really cool, because my responsibility is way out play side. He's not going to be able to get back into the fold. And now we're coming out the backside with an unblocked guy with a blocker. So now it's a different thing. And it's those conversations that we had, and me getting to understand what he was seeing just 2.5 yards behind me and how different that was, that really helped us function together as a fullback and a running back, as a tandem. So that's how he made people better. I mean, he was always talking to the guys up front. He would ask them, hey, what's your matchup like this week? What are you thinking going into the game? And all of us would tell him. I would tell him all the time with Carl Banks. I said, listen, I'm going to do the best I can to cover Carl Banks up, but he's not moving. He's going to be exactly where he lines up. The guy's got like cement posts into the turf. I mean, I could never move Carl Banks. When I went against Seth Joyner, I said, listen, this is all or nothing. You know, that guy is too strong and too athletic, so I may miss him. So I may go through there and it may look like a matador. But I'm going to cover him up at other times. You know, just letting him know, you know, how things were going to happen, and him always asking about the matchups up front, because that gave him, when people talk about the ability to see things that aren't in your field of vision, it's because he could remember the matchups and look at a play pre-snap and go, okay, if things get sketchy here, I should have a backdoor on this matchup.
Yeah.